Hey, I'm Nick. Welcome back to Maintenance Monday on Destination Now. Some of you have been asking what makes a camper 4 seasons or winter ready. Well, today we're going to find out. It must be Maintenance Monday. Woo! Let's get to work. 4 major things that make a camper winter ready. Extra insulation, heated and enclosed holding tanks, a sealed underbelly, and PEX plumbing throughout the camper. Let's take a look inside of our camper and see what our system looks like so you can understand what you could do to yours. So this is what the underbelly of our camper looks like. So this is pretty thin insulation. That's really all you need, and it just sits in there in between the framing. And then this is just a piece of plywood, and it just bolts up to the underbelly. There's 2 of them, and the whole underside of the camper is sealed to the air because of that. It keeps us pretty warm, and it keeps the holding tanks warm. It's also important that you inspect the underside of your camper if you are planning on going into heavy winter conditions, and just verify that everything's working properly, because you don't want to find out in the middle of the night when it's freezing and your tanks freeze or your pipes blow, and like that's a bad situation. So while the weather's good, just check everything out and make sure it's to your liking. So come inside. What I like to do every fall is just get under the camper, open up the belly pan, and just check everything out and make sure that there's nothing going on that is going to surprise me later when the weather turns. I have ducting for my furnace, and it runs down in through here, and it applies ducted heating to the whole underbelly of the camper, and it's directed specifically on my water tank and specifically on this pipe. So it's blowing hot air right onto our gray water pipe, and it's blowing hot air right onto our black water pipe. It also goes all the way back into my electrical box, and that's also where the plumbing is for the dump valve, and so it keeps all that from freezing. Now, obviously this is exposed to the elements, but everything else is in pretty good shape as far as keeping stuff from freezing. So I like to go in here every winter and just inspect the ducting and make sure that there's no holes in it, because sometimes rodents do get into our camper and they can cause a lot of damage. You just want to make sure that they didn't eat holes in anything, and it all looks pretty good to me. I don't see any signs of rodents being in here. We've been pretty diligent about keeping them out. The other important thing to have is PEX pipes throughout your camper. And the reason is because it is more durable than other pipes that you may use for your camper needs. Why is that important? Well, if it does freeze, it will allow these to, within reason, they will expand a little bit, but they will eventually break. So you want to keep them from freezing. More of a precautionary measure than anything. The other important thing to be aware of in the cold weather camping is your batteries don't like the cold. There's different things you can do. You can put ducting in. I'm planning on putting some ducting in right here, and that'll warm this battery compartment. You can also put a heating pad that has electricity underneath, and it will keep these from freezing. Why is that important? Well, the colder your battery gets, the less capacity it has, especially lead acid batteries. These are lithium batteries, so they go a lot further. The interesting thing is they will work just fine in cold weather, but they won't charge below 30 degrees Fahrenheit. I have to keep them above 30 degrees Fahrenheit if I want them to charge. If your camper is not already winter ready, then there's a few things that you can do to make it winter ready, but I wouldn't go too cold if it wasn't built for it. If you're going down into like 20-degree weather, there's a few things you can do to make a camper that's not winter ready, make it winter ready. And that is add insulation to your windows. You can duct heating to all your holding tanks. You can actually install electric heating pads on the underbelly of your camper if you don't want to duct the heater. The electric heating pads do wonders, especially if you're at a campsite that has hookups and you've got electricity. You don't have to worry about that stuff. You put a little heating pad under here. They're not very expensive, wired into your batteries. I believe they run on 12 volt. And you put one under your black tank and you put one under your gray tank, and then you can insulate your piping, your holding tank pipes. You know, there's a lot of things that you can do for cold weather camping. You can seal your underbelly. If it's not already sealed, all you got to do is take a piece of wood and seal it up. It's that easy. Or literally anything to seal up the underbelly. That cold air passes through the underbelly and it makes everything really cold. You know how like when you go over a bridge and the bridge says that it will ice up before the rest of the road does? That's because of the underbelly of the bridge gets all that cold air, and therefore the temperature drops faster. Same thing with your camper. So if you seal up that underbelly, if you put side skirts on, stuff like that, that really helps tremendously. So in conclusion, if you do have a Four Seasons camper, you're gonna have well-insulated walls, you're gonna have an insulated and covered, sealed underbelly, you're gonna have PX pipes running throughout your camper, and you're gonna have heated and enclosed holding tanks. If you have those 4 things, you're suitable to camp in cold weather to a certain degree. Of course, it's most important to consult your user manual and find out for your RV what processes you need to go through in order to properly camp in cold weather. If you don't have a Four Seasons camper and you want to camp in cold weather, I wouldn't go too cold in temperature because the insulation is very important, and that's a very hard thing to do after the fact other than just the windows. These are the 4 things that can help. Insulate your windows, seal your underbelly, install PX piping throughout your camper, and install heat pads or ducted heating to all of your holding tanks. Good luck and happy camping.
Well, that's the end of the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, because I sure enjoyed making it. Remember, I'm not an expert in this field. I'm just doing stuff from my own experience. In reality, I really don't know what I'm talking about. So do your research, do your homework, make sure you're doing it right yourself. Hey, let me tell you about Travel Tuesdays. If you enjoyed this stuff, Tuesdays, every single week, we release a video of all the wonderful places that we go. So check them out.